So last time we looked at how to actually build a terrain in SideFX Houdini using the height field tools and erosion to really create something that felt realistic. But now that we have this very high quality digital asset inside Houdini with millions of polygons that takes many, many minutes per frame to render, how do we get something that high quality into a real-time experience? Welcome back to Ice Moon. In this series, we're building an immersive experience for Apple Vision Pro together, step by step. In today's episode, we're going to learn how to take a high-quality environment and bring it onto Apple Vision Pro using a three-step process. It all comes down to something that will be familiar to game developers, but even if you've done this for game development, I think this will be interesting if you're new to the Vision OS platform. And that's because there are special tricks just for these Vision Pro immersive environments, where you are locked in essentially a 3-meter space around the origin of your scene. We could take advantage of this constraint by rendering a high-resolution image of our environment and then projecting it onto optimized geometry. From the vantage point of the projector, it looks great, but as we move around the scene, the effect falls apart and we see stretching. What we need is a way to set up multiple projectors, each oriented in an ideal way for the surface they're projecting on. Fortunately, Apple has provided a set of tools, plugins for Houdini, that do just that, and I'm going to walk you through how it works. The most important node is probably the boundary samples node because it gets used by most of the other nodes. And this creates a cloud of points. You could think of these as representing all the possible places a user might be in that 3-meter zone. Now, in optimizing our scene, one of the first things we have to grapple with is the number of polygons. Because right now our scene has about 10 million, and Apple recommends a max of about 100,000 for an immersive environment. But how do we drop the polygon count so much without losing the quality of our scene? The answer is the adaptive reduce node. By using those sample points we generated earlier, the adaptive reduce node is able to drop the number of polygons but keep them where it counts along things like silhouette edges. Next, we can use a remove back faces node. And this is going to remove all the polygons that face away from the user and will never be seen. And finally, we can use an occlusion culling node. This will get rid of everything that the user would never see because it's blocked by objects in the foreground. And with all of that in place, we now have a much lighter mesh with way fewer polygons than we started out with. We can now move on to the step of setting up those multiple projections we talked about earlier. We'll use a multi-UV partition node, which will split up our world into all of these different pieces, and a multi-UV projection node. And that's what's going to actually figure out those idealized projections using those sample points we generated earlier. Now we have all our projections, but they're kind of a mess and overlapping. So we'll drop down a UV layout node, and that's going to give us this nice atlas of all the elements in our scene. Now at the moment, we've dropped down our polygon count significantly, but RealityKit would still have to load this entire environment into memory at runtime. By using a Frustum partition node, we can provide hints so that RealityKit can actually throw parts of the environment away when they're not in view. With all of that in place, we are now ready to bake our environment. We got lucky because SideFX just released a brand new version of Houdini that has a bunch of baking tools for Karma. It's actually pretty simple. What you're going to do is take your high-res asset, and then you're going to take the optimized version you created, and you're going to say, here's my low-res mesh, here's my high-res mesh, and I want you to bake this. In this example, we've baked our entire world into one 7K map. For our final environment, we'll use more than just one map and we'll create a separate projection for that area right around the user. But this is good enough for now. I put a few extra details in the video description, so be sure to check that out. And getting this on device is as simple as exporting our low-res component as a USD file, creating an unlit material with our texture map, and now we've got something that works in 4K, 90 frames per second, on Vision Pro, and we can visit it. More to come. Thanks for supporting this channel. Don't forget to subscribe.